And the prophet is a forefather of us, and it goes down to the genealogy of Jesus, all of our forefathers and foremothers. And we have to begin to be humble and have a clear understanding of where we are today and what is it going to take for us to be able to succeed for the future. Until we are sitting down and planning these things and talking about these things and really implementing these things, and then the past will resurface so quickly than we imagined for it to. So we really have to be steadfast, one accord with one another. And the prophet said a member's interest can only be in one direction. And that's with anything. This is why meditating, this is why praying at one time, is so important. Anyone who knows the sciences of meditating and prayer knows that the more like minds you have towards that common thought, the more powerful that thought becomes, the more it permeates. And it's a heavy spell, like the Grand Sheikh Nature was talking about last week, about black magic or white magic. It's a heavy spell to dispel, and until we have to be encouraged and instilled with the courage to withstand that spell. And it's heavy sorcery and it's metaphysical. And we cannot just come at this from a completely physical or documental perspective. We have to have the spirit to back it up. This is why we talk about allowing your midst to precede you. Because what you put out there, you should be able to back that up spiritually. But no one can throw you off of that course. Because the document is just a representation of your spirit, of who you are, of your source, of your power. So it becomes very important that we all are able to vibrate on the same accord and principle to bring life to it. If we all thinking about the different things and not focusing on the correct and what needs to be talked about and thought about, then our thoughts become not as strong and standard as they should be. So we really have to become in harmony and bring the uniting back to this Moorish national movement in itself. And I'm speaking from a perspective not just of the Moorish Science Temple, but every Moorish American, every Moor all over the world. We have to be in the same accord to really make this and activate what needs to be done. But like I said, not a word is lost, and Allah is the best of planners, and is God and the destiny in this movement. And victory is assured. So you play your part, you do what you know is right and was supposed to be done, and there's nothing more you can do. And you strive towards that perfection and to unfold into who you are as a Moor, because we all have different measures and degrees within this movement. And until you really activate your own special skill and talent, then you become a stagnant pool, a stagnation for the rest of the Moorish Americans. So it's very important that we all come in. And the Prophet said he needs active Moors and not passive Moors. So find your place in the affairs of men and do it. And like the Grand Sheikh says, just go hard. Go hard with it. And he loves you Moors dearly. He is on your side. He's for your best interest. And he's really there seeking to really have. Hold on 1 second, Moors. Really trying to get, because it's tough there, because like the Grand Sheikh said before, here in these lands here, it's already been established, it's acknowledged, but there has not been a lot of activity there in that area, and y'all really on the pilot and really doing what needs to take, so that's very commendable, and it's very necessary. And I want to speak on not only. And then when speaking about the enforcement of the Constitution, this is why it's very important in talking about documentation that Moors really transact and do things in a Moorish name. It's important that we transact business in a Moorish name everywhere we go, whatever we do. And the reason why is, one, because it's perjury if you don't. Once you proclaim and affirm who you are, affirmation of fact, then to do something outside of that is perjury. You know, Moors have to transact business, must, in their free national name. You have to, because that's who you are. You know, and if man must be that which he knows, if that's what you have to do. You have to proclaim in a government in which you live. You know, not just here, but all over the world, internationally. You know, but domestically first. You know, according to Act 6 of the Constitution, you proclaim, you know, your nationality. You know, because that's what you were taught to do. You know, and then once you do that, it's important for you to not carry on the karma and the fiction of what you left behind. So the proclamation was a necessary tool, it was a necessary act. You know, it was an act, a necessary act. And once you do that proclamation, then there's no need to go back to the from the point before you proclaimed, because you've affirmed a new beginning, a new life. Because with this proclamation lies a different law, different jurisdiction, different venue, different backing, you know, and Islam, with our authority of the Moorish Science Temple of America, it says we are to, you know, appoint and consecrate missionaries to the Prophet and establish the faith of Muhammad in America. Islam, and it's all authority from the great Quran of Muhammad, you know, and I read that because you have to propagate and teach and do what you teach and live according to how you're teaching. You know, you have to demonstrate, you know, what you're teaching. And nationality and birthright is important, and nationality is the order of the day. And if once you proclaim, which is a requirement, to proclaim your free national name and religion, there is no need to continue to transact business in a former name. You know, again, like I said, that's a form of perjury. And in order for us to be a strong nation, everyone must proclaim so we can be on the books, so that we can have an effective voice. You know, it goes back to when a prophet was just starting out with this movement, and the president told him that he needed so many people, and he was like, that's like putting a pair of pants on a horse, you know, and you have strength in numbers. And your free national, your title of nobility is given to us for a reason, for a purpose. And you must have and demonstrate your free national name in the government which you live, because within that is a voice. You know, it's within voice. And we see here with the elections going on, and what these representatives are trying to do, they're trying to acquire a voice. They need the people. You know, unfortunately, the whole situation is de facto, but the intent and not the intent, but the whole principle about it is a necessity. You have to have, you know, a voice, a strong unit of people, and the more Moors you have, you know, proclaiming their free national name and religion, then the more power you have to make changes. When a prophet was informed, and he was, you know, he had everyone, you know, vote for the priest, ask for the priest, if anyone knows who he is. And he, Islam. And but it took a strong unit and a voice of Moors, you know, to do that, you know, and it's very important for us to transact business in a Moorish name. Otherwise, it's simple, it's just perjury. It's not really too much more that has to be said about that, because I think it's just a simple, it's a necessity. So when teaching anyone, you know, you have to make it known to them that, you know, we give, you know, Christianity back, you know, we give it back. You know, render to Caesar what Caesar's. And that's one thing that Caesar's, and we render it, give it back, you know, because we are returning to Islam, you know, for our earthly and divine salvation. And our title has a link to that. Islam?
Islam. One question, sis. Just to speak on the Prophet also saying that to keep the old name, in other words, you don't completely unlink yourself from the old name.
Islam?
Islam, as far as the Prophet saying not to get rid of your old name completely. If you want to touch on that.
I can touch on that, and I can, from the perspective that I understand, and it's a degree. I'll give you an example. Like coming into the Moor Science Temple of America, you have different heavens. You have first heaven, you have second heaven, and you have the outer chamber. You know, that's a necessity first coming in, you know, to affix the El Bey. That's the first step. You know, not everyone first coming into the movement is required to do what someone that's an outer chamber, a sheik, is required to do. So for someone just coming in on first heaven, proclaiming a free national name and religion, if they want to hold on to that and affix the El Bey as a first step, absolutely. But for a sheik or an officer of the Moor Science Temple of America, in my reference, you know, it's a degree in which at some point you should transition completely into a complete name and give back, render to Caesar with Caesar's.
Islam.
You know, so like I said, it's the first step. You know, and this nationality is not something that you just, is, you know, like we say in common law, you know, common law name correction versus civil, or not civil, but common law versus court order name change. The difference is that a court order name change is done effectively, immediately. Boom, it's done. Just a point, you know, tap with a button. However, common law name correction is something that's effectuated over a period of time, in which you have to show some type of relevance and history with it. This is why it's a little difficult with that. And so I use this for an example with correcting the El Bey versus, is a transition point. And, you know, nationality being an order of day, nationality is something that cannot be completely done in one moment. You know, just like a person coming into the movement, it's not, you're always continuing to unfold. And so I don't believe it was intended for Moor to continue to hold on to those names.
Islam.
Because as we know, the Prophet was you know, yes, Noble Drew Ali, but he also Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali as well. You know, and it was a cycle, a transition point.